3.5 billion years ago, the highly complicated molecule, DNA, the basis for all life on Earth, had emerged.
For the inquiring mind, the study of genetics is a journey along the entire scale of life. A journey from the amoeba to the guinea pig, from mice to possible applications in man.
Meanwhile, India's food problems continue to create widespread concern. Touring the famine areas, members of an unofficial American mission see for themselves the everyday conditions of life in southern India, a countryside on the very edge of starvation.
The Old and New Testament of the Bible mention the word famine numerous times. Famine goes back to man's earliest known history and is recorded in the Old and New Testament as continually reoccurring. Some of the scriptures predict famine in the future. The term famine and overpopulation, these are completely separate ideas.
I want to know how you, as a woman, feel about overpopulation in the world and its relation to polluting the environment.
Well, I think the problem is not overpopulation as people believe it to be, but it's more of the balance of things. What, like food, some part of the world there's wastage of food, and in some parts, nobody has food. That kind of a balance, if that is solved, I don't think we would be worried so much about overpopulation.
I think it's a bit of a joke the way people have made this overpopulation thing into a kind of myth. I don't really believe it, And it's all right for us all living saying, oh, well, there's enough of us, so we won't have any more. Don't let anybody else live. I don't believe in that. I think we've got enough food and money to feed everybody. I'm sure there's enough room for us.
You mean you think there's enough if it were
I don't believe overpopulation, I think that's just a kind of myth that the government have thrown out to keep your mind off Vietnam and Ireland and all the important subjects.
Oh, I think you're wrong about that.
Oh, I don't care.
As we make the world healthier, is the population going to get so big that feeding everybody and maintaining the environment is going to be impossible?
Our worldview, even to do with population and the fake view that we're overpopulated, is all projected to us by the mainstream media, working in concert for their masters, and we begin to parrot what we hear through repetition, and that's so important, is repetition with slogans and catchphrases. And once you hear it happening in your own local group, your milieu, then you know it's working, and the camera can make anything appear to be true.
Here we can see a chart that looks at the total world population over the last several hundred years. And at first glance, this is a bit scary. We go from less than 1 billion in 1800, and then 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7.4 billion where we are today is happening even faster. So Melinda and I wondered whether providing new medicines and keeping children alive, would that create more of a population problem?
You'll see that in India, for instance, they always use the same streets of Bombay to make you think that you're massively overcrowded, and that's the impression people think of the entire Indian continent. The Indian continent is huge, with China being the model state for the world, for instance, put into effect the United Nations policy to the extreme with its population reduction and the movement of people off of the rural areas into cities. They started that years ago. Right now, they're in the process of moving 200 million more people off into the major cities, and that's the major newspapers. The cities appear to be crowded because everyone's being moved into them. In the Western world, since the 1950s, again under the term of urban sprawl and stopping urban sprawl, the Western countries also signed agreements to do no more building in the outskirts and of the major cities. All existing buildings have to be used or else knocked down and replaced with even higher ones. But regardless, with the immigration and the free flow of people now from third world countries, the Western countries appear to be overcrowded. And yet the UN's own statistics show, and so do the national census show, that the Europeans, for instance, Canadians and Americans, are actually in decline.
What we found out is that as health improves, families choose to have less children.
helping to bring the billion poorest people on the planet to self-sufficiency, which is the key step in curbing world population growth.
And this effect is very, very dramatic. We find that in every country of the world, this is repeated. The population growth goes down as we improve health.
There's a strong belief that the differences in society, those who are poor, those who are rich, those who are smart, everything is in the genes.
Do you believe that poor people are genetically different?
Yes. This takes us in some very dangerous directions. Biologically determined politics.
You have a kind of prevailing belief amongst the ruling elite in social Darwinism.
I thought we had killed this kind of stuff off, and yet here it comes back out of the grave, dressed up in scientific garb.
We need to be aware of what was done, specifically in the name of genetics.
We're back to blood as a determination of character. That person is not only talking biological nonsense, he's talking dangerous biological nonsense.
Eugenics is the killing or forced sterilization of people to improve the human population.
So the overpopulation problem is simply an image projected by the media.
So we've taken that chart that shows the global population growth, and we've actually extended it out all the way to 2100. And we can see that instead of continuing, it actually flattens out. Another way to see that is through this rate of population growth. And you can see that in the 60s, that reached a pretty high number, over 2% per year, and it's now come way, way down. Now, 11 billion people, still a lot, but the good news is that the faster we improve health, the faster family size goes down, and so we can feel great about saving those lives.
The Nazis took Darwinism, natural selection, to an absurd and disgraceful degree. There were people with bad, defective genes out there who should be killed, or at least prevented from reproducing.
We will capture the whole process of evolution, and we will make rational decisions about where humankind should go.
Famine is a result of the population of the world that does not have adequate access to food, basic needs. However, the resources on the planet seem plentiful to some.
You meet people, you meet elders, you meet women, you meet very small children who are underweight, undernourished. And it's that terrible, heart-wrenching image of children with very swollen, very large bellies, very light-coloured hair, and they are just silenced by this hunger. The children who you would think are tiny, maybe 2 or 3 years old, are actually a lot older than you think. And when you talk to them, you're absolutely shocked when they say they're 8 or 10 or 12 years old.
We consistently hear that we need to spend billions of dollars to save the planet. You would be hard-pressed to find someone who says we should spend billions of dollars to address the problem of world hunger.
We're seeing a big increase in air temperatures and the ability of the atmosphere to draw moisture from the land. And what is almost certainly happening is that as climate change is increasing year after year, month after month, that warming in the atmosphere is drawing more moisture from the land, decreasing vegetation, making it harder to grow crops, desiccating the land. And this is something that we're experiencing right now in the Western United States, right? It's something that we see kind of all over the world.